the future plans.
Add profit?
Add profit will definitely be the main goal, right? Why are we doing this? Because we don't want to misprice the product. If we're using the earlier traditional method, we may be mispricing. Earlier we talked about specialized DVD. Seems like it's a lot profitable than Excel DVD. If that information remains in the business, probably later on the business wants to sell more specialized DVDs. But in reality, we haven't captured the manufacturing overhead cost properly. We mispriced it earlier. We didn't properly capture the cost, and therefore we thought we had a whole lot more profit going on, but in a sense, really, we haven't been generating that much profit because the cost, we captured it wrong early in the traditional methods. Okay, so using ABC methods, the beneficial part definitely is better pricing the product, and we can understand, based on different types of activities, we can take a closer look at which areas where possibly we could cut the cost from. Okay, so if we want to widen the profit, it's either increasing sales price or cutting the cost. It has to be either one of these. Right? Increasing sales price unless before you underprice your product. Otherwise, this doesn't really give the business advantage because you might be selling products higher than your competitor, right? So the other way to go toward, which is usually more beneficial, is how to cut the cost. Which areas we're able to cut the cost. So activity-based costing, once you take a closer look at these activities, it will be easier for companies to decide which areas they may need to adjust the cost from. This is another benefit of using ABC costing system. So again, if we go back to this example, using unit cost as a base, this bottom table here was the traditional method that we did earlier. We thought we had $20 profit per DVD sets, but then after we did recalculations on burning cost, setup cost, assembly cost, the upper table now is the more proper information represented for these two product lines. So do we have profit for specialty DVD now? No, instead of profit, we're not even meeting the cost, right? We're actually going below that. We have negative dollar amount generated. So meaning per DVD batches of orders we're selling to customers, we're actually using up our own profit gain before. We have 10 cents lower. We don't even have profit at all. Okay, because after we rearranged manufacturing overhead costs, we realized that we missed a portion of activities by using direct labor costs. We never captured this portion here. Right? So after rearranging this, perhaps the next strategy would be either increasing specialty DVDs $70 to $72, $73, so it covers the cost, or we cut the cost for specialty DVDs, or even perhaps cut the entire production line. If it's not really generating profit, there's not much request from customers either, perhaps the decision will be either cutting it totally out or increasing sales revenue if possible. Okay? So some of these decisions here depends on not just from production lines information, but also from different departments. It's a team effort to decide which areas to increase more materials, to increase the sales revenue price, or which areas to cut the cost from. Okay, let's take a look at this concept here. As we talked about earlier, these information to decide on whether to increase sales price or to decide on whether to cut the cost. This is a team effort, and in the book there's a term specifically referring to this value engineering. So what value engineering means, a team effort of reevaluating the activities that happens in the business to decide which areas we may be able to reduce costs from. Okay, so earlier we talked about two types of production lines. We thought we had more profit for this one, but in reality we mispriced specialty DVDs. So at the end, we figured that specialty DVD really isn't gaining any profit at all. So whether or not we want to cut it down the entire production line or increase price depends on information from different departments. So marketing department needs to provide information on whether the market really needs this product or not. Is there a need in the customer side?
What if they did a recent campaign and spent like $2 million on the campaign? Do you think the company would make a decision to still keep the production line on the specialty DVD? Do you
That is a general question, though. You said if they already spend the money upfront on designing it and research and developing it, they have to look at the long run, right? If this is just the beginning and they believe that this product at the end, there's based on field studies or doing surveys from customers, if they feel like there's a need in the market, in the long run they will be able to cover the loss right now, then yes, we'll need to keep it, right? But if it doesn't have a potential later on, it might easily go outdated later, then maybe it's better to just cut it down. Even if there's a loss right now, but this will actually save the loss in the long run, even more loss later on. Right? So this depends on how the product is being valued in the customer's eyes. Okay, it's not just as easy as right now we're losing the money, but what if later on we're gaining it back? It depends on budgeting, it depends on how well this product later on will be marketed in the markets, right? How well the customer really needs this product. Okay? So again, making these decisions depends on different departments' information. Marketing departments, engineers, perhaps they can decide on how to design the product better using less valuable materials and having the same quality. Of course, the quality needs to be ensured because there are substituting materials that we can substitute the materials we're using right now with the lower cost, perhaps cut down some of the materials costs in the beginning or cut down some of the setup costs in the beginning. Okay, accountants department definitely need to estimate the cost for different stages in the business. Production line, how do we do budgeting? What are the areas that potentially seems like we're using more cost this year compared to last year? Perhaps we can cut the cost in those areas. So different departments, they need to work together. Value engineering needs to reevaluate the activities that we have right now and see if we could reduce the cost for the products, most likely reaching the same quality level. Okay, so by doing this, a lot of the business goes backwards, meaning that instead of producing the products first, marking up a price, and then try to figure out how do we meet target value, target profits, or target sales price, a lot of the companies now try to figure out what is customers' target price. And from the market to figure out, first of all, what would be the approximate level of retail price that customers are able to accept. Could be based on surveys, field studies, information from possibly other companies right now. Decide this first, work backwards, minus the target profit that they want to get, perhaps 10% of it or 20% of the sales price, and then figure out the target cost for their production. So then this is the key point here. They're trying to meet this target cost in order to generate profit and set the price at the target price the customer will likely to accept. Okay, so the traditional method in the business, usually we produce the products first, we decide what factors in, the labor, work, hiring, indirect costs, and then we mark up a price, decide the profit between. Then we set the sales price then. But what if this sales price doesn't meet the customer's request? What if they think this is overpriced or underpriced? So nowadays, a lot of the business, they work backwards. When they have a new product in mind, they do field study first, understanding what's the target price customers may be satisfied with, minus the profit that they have in mind, then set the cost, the unit cost per product, and try to meet this cost in their production line. Try to find the materials, hire people, of course, get machines, equipment, have indirect costs incurred that meets this target cost so they can generate this profit and satisfy customers' needs. You had a question earlier?
Yeah, so that will be the customer's disposable income. That's what it's going to be.
Yes, we're trying to get to is the customers. The customers' needs.
Yeah, target price, is it the average price or the highest price that I came out? In other words, if they did a field study and the majority of the customer would pay $6, and you do have some customers that will pay $10, which price would they go with?
This target sales price most likely will go with the majority of the price.
Okay.
Right? Because is some are willing to pay $10, but the majority is $6, you don't want to just target your customer with a smaller group, right? If you price it too high, then you're going to lose, for example, the 80% of the customers and just meet the needs for 20% of the customers. So usually it will be somewhere around the average price they do, the average sales price. Yes. Okay, so this is just an idea of after understanding activity-based costing, you know the cost that flows into different activities. Companies, they strive to cut the cost, try to minimize the cost incurred here to generate more profit in between. And by doing this, a lot of the companies, they have this strategy here to field studies first, understand the customer's requested price, work backwards, minus the profit, to set a target cost here, and then try to find materials, factor in labor cost that meets this target cost. Okay? Now, the full product costs, of course, we were only focusing on manufacturing cost earlier, the previous two chapters. Here, just want to remind you that full product cost also factors in, obviously, sales cost, the operating costs all together. And so when we talk about product costs, it's not just the manufacturing side, although we have been focusing on that. It's also the part that you learn in financial accounting, administrative expenses, sales, selling expenses, delivery expenses, all of these factors in the product's cost. So just a reminder, full product cost includes both sides, manufacturing side and also the selling side. Okay, so here's an example. As we go back to that Excel DVD example there. Remember earlier in that Excel DVD, third DVD was sold at $12 each. So let's say the marketing department did some survey and realized that, okay, now customers' needs for this product is not as high as before. Likely later on the seasons, perhaps the DVDs will drop to $10 in the market on average. So if you want to be competitive, obviously you need to follow this flow. You have to somehow find a way to also cover your expenses, but actually generate profit as well. So in this case, if their target profit is 20% of this $10, that means the cost has to be somewhere below $8, right? In order to generate a profit of $2 and sell DVDs at $10. So this is applying the idea I mentioned earlier, understanding the sales price first, minus the profit, the target profit you're earning, to set the cost here and try to meet this target cost value. If we match it with the current stage of what the cost is, let's say the current cost, going back to that table, is $8.10. And this is where the value engineering team needs to factor in to try to find some strategies to cut the costs in several departments in order to meet the $8 target if we want to generate 2% of the profit. So it's either not generating 2% of the profit or generating 2% of profit, trying to cut the costs in some areas. Okay? So the book gave you an example that in order to meet this $8 target, they decided to redesign the way they set up the DVDs. So the setup cost in the beginning, originally they had a dollar amount $60,000, and now they want to somehow meet, originally the total manufacturing cost was $60,000, and now they want to meet a dollar amount $48,000 here in order to reduce the cost lower than $8. So they found a way to reduce setup costs, possibly by grouping some of the raw materials in the beginning. So instead of starting the production, trying to find raw materials from different warehouses, different departments, we may group them together as the raw materials is shipped to the business to save some of the cost for trying to collect all the materials from different departments all together to start production. So let's say after this decision is made, they do an analysis and decide that, understand that later on they're able to save the cost $160,000. This is an estimation. So if this actually happens, at the end, you'll be able to get manufacturing overhead cost just $48,000 instead of earlier the $60,000. Okay, so this is just an example of the strategy that companies may come up with. Or they may come up with replacing materials with other types. So cutting costs for materials. Or they may decide to shift some of the labor cost into using automated process, purchasing more machines to cut down some of the costs of direct labors. This is just one way of reducing the cost from setup activities. So let's say after this, given the numbers, you have a reduced level of manufacturing overhead costs, and you're able to reach at the end $7.98. Okay, so is this lower than $8 or higher? It will be lower. Okay, so this is an example given in the book. If you go back to read the chapter, closely following the numbers here. First of all, using ABC, we're able to identify a proper level of manufacturing overhead. And then based on the target cost, we want to meet that target cost, $8, based on redesigning some of the production process. So this is an example that we redesigned the setup cost, reduced it by $160,000. At the end, we'll be able to meet the target cost by $8, and it's even lower than that, $7.98. Okay, so just an example of how ABC will work. Separate the activities, understand the cost in different types of activities, and then at the end, if it doesn't meet the target cost, redesign some portion of the process. This is a team effort from different departments in order to help meet the target cost.